We are taking a dump today in the sartorial kitchen. Not literally, but I do have 3 different dumplings for you guys today. First is an appetizer dumpling with mozzarella and pizza sauce. Then I'm doing a classic chicken and dumplings utilizing canned biscuits and leftover stock from a previous cook. And more canned biscuits for a apple dumpling dessert. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me. Welcome back, everybody. Yes. We are dumping today a series of different kinds of dumplings, starting with chicken and dumplings. So I've got some oil in this pan and some butter. Oil gives us the burning temp, the butter gives us the flavor. I'm going to saute some veggies. That's going to be the base flavors for this. Now this is a semi-homemade recipe because half of my ingredients have already been prepared. This is stock left over from my last cook when I did the risotto. And then I'm just starting with some veggie prep. So I've got some celery here. And I'm just taking off the ends. And this little one here. I want some pretty small bite-sized pieces. So I'm going to cut this into thirds. And then I'm going to come again into little 1/4-inch dices. And then same with the rest of this. So there's the celery, now for the carrots. And some of these are already split. I'm just going to come down the middle just like that. And then cut them into similar size shapes. I want the carrots and the onions to be the same size as each other so they all cook at the same time. There's my celery and carrots, and then for the onion, I'm just going to slice that in half, peel all that skin off. I cut the flat end off. I leave the hairy end on. That holds this together while we cut this up so it stays in one piece. And literally just come in here lengthwise. Then we go vertically and then change direction. And go once more. We get nice little diced pieces of onion. Alright, so there's all my veggies, and what's nice about using the cutting board is it becomes a vehicle to transfer everything over to the pot. And I'm just going to dump that in. Now this is on a low heat. We're sweating these, not sauteing these. I don't want them to get too much color, I just want them to get nice and tender and translucent. So I'm going to come in here with a good amount of salt. That's going to help these release their juices and get nice and soft. We'll throw a little pepper in here as well to get the seasonings going. And then just come in here with a little wooden spoon and give it a stir. I want all of these veggies to get coated in that butter and oil. And then they're just going to cook for about 5 to 10 minutes until they're just nice and soft. Alright, while my veggies continue to cook down, we're going to move on to an appetizer. These are going to be little sort of mozzarella pizza bites. So I squared and got the good mozzarella, the pearl. And I'm just going to rinse this off a little. Those juices, they pack it in. I don't want that making the dough soggy. And just give it a little squeeze. Make sure there's no extra liquid hiding out in there. Now how is this a dumpling? So dumpling's kind of like a cooked dough. And there's different ways to do it. There's fried dumplings. You can boil them like we're going to be doing here with our chicken and dumplings. You can bake them off in the oven. And that's what we're going to be doing here. So I got some canned pizza dough. And I may not even use this whole thing. But we're just going to start here rolling this out. This is another semi-homemade meal. A lot of our ingredients are already prepped. I don't want this dough too thick because it's going to keep it from cooking through properly. So I'm going to come in here with my rolling pin. And then I'm using the cutting board again because that's going to give me the thickness I want. If I just roll this out to the size of the cutting board. Not too thin, you don't want it to break through. And then we're just going to cut this in half. It's almost going to be like making ravioli. I'm going to make this super easy for us here. So separate these two sides. Now this side, we're going to take our mozzarella pearls and we're going to lay them out. Spread them apart from each other. And if you want, you can kind of do two pieces. So I want these to be nice and cheesy. And then I've got some jarred pizza sauce here. And if you want to make your own homemade tomato sauce, more power to you. But it is perfectly fine. We're going to zhuzh this up a little though. So I've got some garlic salt. About a teaspoon of that. And some Italian seasoning. Just to give a little life to this jarred sauce. And then come in with a spoon and stir that up. And then I'm going to just come in here and ladle a little of that on top of these mozzarella pearls. And like I said, we're going to make this super easy. We're going to take this other side and stretch it over top. Kind of like when you're making ravioli. And then come in here. And you use a spoon for this. And we're just going to press down in between each layer. That's going to make our individual pieces here. And make sure that it's nice and sealed for us. We don't want any of that cheese or that sauce getting out and making a mess. Alright, these are just about ready to go in. So I've got my little sheet pan there and I've greased it down nice and good. And then we're just going to come back in here with our knife and slice through longwise and sideways. And then you'll see we've got our nice little pizza dumplings. And I'm just going to come in here. I want to make sure these are folded over good. So none of that filling gets out. Just come in here and kind of crimp everything together. Kind of bring it into a little ball. Make sure everything is pinched off nicely. And then one last step. We're going to roll this around in a little Parmesan. And then that's going to go right onto our little baking sheet. And then we'll come in here and get the rest of these. Alright, these are good to go. I've already preheated the oven to 425 degrees. And they're going to cook for about 15 to 20 minutes, just until they're nice and golden brown and cooked through. I'm going to set the timer for that. You can see the veggies, they're nice and soft. Carrots take a little longer, but they can cook down in our broth. But the onions and celery are perfect. We're going to come in here with a little flour and make a roux here. Just a couple tablespoons. That's going to help thicken our broth, make it nice and thick and rich. And then I'm just going to very quickly stir in this flour to our butter and oil mixture. Just about a minute or so till that raw flour paste cooks out. You don't want the flour to burn. And you'll kind of see the butter thickens up there. You can draw through it and it holds its shape. Okay, that flour has cooked down. So we're just going to come in here with our stock. And again, this is stock that I made for from the last episode. It's got all those flavors in there. I'm using my other 2 quart containers. And basically we're just going to cook this until it comes to a boil, and then we'll add in our dumplings and our chicken. I'm also going to throw in, I've got another little sprig of thyme here. That's going to cook down and add some nice flavor. And we will let that go, and then we'll be back. Alright, timer's about to go off. Let's check these babies out. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice and golden brown. Some of them have kind of popped up a little bit, that's okay. Now to serve these, I've got a fun little plate, and then I warmed up some of that marinara sauce. It's kind of a dipping sauce. And then I'll just come in here with our spatula, and these should come right up because we sprayed that pan. And they just go right onto our little appetizer plate. I should probably wait till these cool down, but they just look so good. I think I'm going to take this piece here. Some of the cheese oozed out and got nice and golden brown. Nice and crusty on the outside. Soft and chewy on the inside. And the cheese is melted beautifully. I think I'm going to sprinkle just a little more fresh parm on top. And let's take this other little piece here. Yeah, very good. Well, I'm going to clean this up, and then we'll move on to the next step of our chicken and dumplings. Alright, our broth has come to a nice boil. Time to get our dumplings going. So again, we're cheating here with some more biscuit dough. If you want to measure out the flour and all that, that's hard to know. You could even use Bisquick. But Grands did all the work for me already. So why not take advantage of that? So these biscuits, they're nice and thick and flaky, and I'm literally just going to cut these into 4s. And that's going to get our dumpling shape. And then I'm just going to carefully drop these in, because I don't want to splash hot broth all over my hands. And what's great about these biscuits, as you can see, they are drinking up that broth and getting nice and thick and luscious. So I'm just going to let those go until they're nice and cooked through. While those biscuits cook, I'm going to prep my chicken. This is chicken I pulled off from what I had left over from the last cook. Now these small pieces, they'll go in as is. These bigger pieces, I'm just going to kind of chunk into 1/3 or seconds, depending on how big they are. And this is already cooked. We don't want the chicken to dry out, so it's one of the last things we're going to add to this. And if you don't have leftover chicken like this, you can use canned chicken. It's already cooked, so you're going to do the same thing at last. I always rinse off the canning juices. You can buy rotisserie meat from the deli and just kind of shred that up. And you can use the carcass to make your broth. But this is what we're using today. It's a mixture of white and dark meat. I think that's best for soups and stews. And then again, just like with the dumplings, I'm going to carefully add this chicken in. And come in here with our spoon and just kind of stir that up so the chicken gets down into the broth. You'll find the biscuits create a little bit of a barrier on top. So it's okay to give a little stir. And if you turn them over, you'll have some pieces where you can see it's still doughy and not cooked through, so it's good to give them a little stir so you know they're cooking evenly. And then I also want to pull out my thyme bundle. It has served its purpose. And then I'm just going to let this cook for about another 10 or so minutes, just until those biscuits are nice and cooked through, and we will be ready to do. Time for our last recipe here. It is a dessert dumpling, an apple dumpling. This one is also going to go in our oven. So I'm going to do these in little muffin pans here. I'm going to start with my butter, cold butter, and I'm just going to cut a little sliver and place in the bottom of each one of these. I'm going to come in here with some brown sugar to make sure it's nice and soft, and sprinkle a little in the bottom of each of these. This is going to make a nice little kind of caramel crunch topping for us. And let's pop this baby open. Aha. Alright, I think we've got a good amount in here. And then these, again, you can roll them out if you want. I'm just going to come in here with my hands and just kind of press them out till they widen on me. Not too far though, because I don't want them to bleed through. Set that right in there, and then we'll do the same thing with this one. Just until it's nice and big. Don't be afraid to press them out nice and thin. Set that aside for now, and then we're going to work on our filling. So I want a little more brown sugar here for some extra sweetness. About a tablespoon and a half. I'm also going to throw in a little cinnamon, a teaspoon, and about a quarter teaspoon of nutmeg. And we're going to come in here with some apple pie filling. So it's going to enhance some of the flavors that are already in here, those seasonings I dropped in. I also have a little trick that's going to make these apples taste a little more fresh. And that starts with about a pinch of salt. And then I've got some fresh lemon here. We're going to take a little of the zest. About half the zest of this lemon, not too much. Again, we want to extract it. And if we zest it, you know we're going to juice it. So you're going to have to slice that in half. And I'm just going to squeeze it over top of here. That'll catch any seeds we have. And you should be able to get a couple tablespoons of juice at least. That looks good. And then we'll come through here and stir this up. So when all those, the brown sugar and those spices, I want to kind of get incorporated. Just stir that into the juice. Okay. Then we're going to give this a little pulse with our hand mixer. I still want this to have some texture to it. I just want to break down the pieces of apple so they fit into little biscuit molds. And I think that's pretty good. You can see we've still got some kind of chunks in there, but it's working down nicely. And we're just going to come in here with a spoon and ladle in our filling, almost like a apple pie looking at the moment. I won't fill it too high. I think that looks pretty good. And then we're going to top it off. I've got some little dough sheets here. And I'm going to leave them in squares. And then again, like I did with those, I'm just going to kind of press them out. If you wanted to, you could get more of the cinnamon roll and use that as a topper. But I wanted it to have a nice flaky bottom to it. Just like that. I'm just going to cut that in half. Kind of roll it together and press it out. And then that's just going to go right on top here. Whoops. Just press down nice and firm. Make sure that is completely covered. All right, that is good and ready. Now this time our oven's at 375, but they're going to cook for about the same amount of time. I'm going to set the timer again for that, and then we can finish our dumplings. All right, time to finish up the dumplings here. They have gotten nice and plump and cooked through. To make this extra decadent, I've got some heavy whipping cream here. I'm actually going to give it a little shake first. And just pour that right in. I'm just going to use about half the container. And stir that in. That's just going to give us a nice creamy, luscious broth. It's also going to allow it to thicken a little more. We're going to turn that on low. And while that cooks in, let me get a bowl and a ladle. Alright, lastly, I'm going to come in here with a little more salt. I always wait till the end to do my last seasoning because that salt will cook out while starch boils. And then some pepper. And stir that in. And let's dish it up. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to get a couple of those dumplings. Make sure I get some good pieces of chicken. And plenty of that broth. And I think that looks pretty good. And get a spoon here. It's good and hot. I'm going to try a little of the broth first. Nice and flavorful. Those veggies are nice and tender now. Chicken is nice and soft. It's still juicy, tender. That's why we wait to throw that in. And then the dumplings, if they're cooked through, you should be able to just slice right through them with your spoon. And then you can see they're nice and cooked through. Oh yeah. What I love about the dumplings, they absorb all those flavors from the broth, and then they're just nice and soft. You bite into them. Just kind of mush in your mouth. Nice and soft. So good. I'm going to finish this up here, and then once those dumplings are ready to come out, we'll give them a taste as well. Alright, that sounds like my dumplings. Hopefully they're ready to come out. Oh yeah, that looks beautiful. Yeah. Set it on this cooling rack. I want these to cool evenly so they pull out of my muffin tins without making a mess. Nice and beautiful golden brown. We can turn the oven off now, which is good because it's way hot in here, but as soon as those cool down, we'll give them a taste. Alright, these have been cooling for about 10 minutes now. I got a knife just in case I need it to pry these out. And I'm going to flip them over, and you can see they got a nice little caramel on top. If any of it is still in the bottom of the pan, you can just kind of take your knife and spread that out. This one looks like it's good to go. know if these are all going to fit on this plate, but I'm going to try. And then one more here. I'm going to put it right in there. Perfect. Those look gorgeous, but there's one thing that's going to make it look even better, and that is some powdered sugar. So I've got my little sifter. I'm just going to take a teeny bit of powdered sugar here and just give that a little tap. Ah, that looks so good, guys. And I'd say they're ready to have a taste. Alright, as beautiful as these look, I am going to have to go ahead and taste one of these. Pull that apart. So good. You can hear the nice and crusty on the outside, and then you just cut into it, and that apple pie filling just oozes everywhere. Ah, so good. Just come in here and get a little taste. Yeah, that crust, nice and crispy and flaky. And you get the little cinnamon bits from the cinnamon roll dough. Powdered sugar just gives it a little extra something. A nice, quick, simple, easy dessert. Wow. I'm going to finish up here. I thank you for joining me, as always. Like and subscribe, hit me up in the comment section, and until next time.